Shabbos Yom Kippur. In the Yom Kippur davening, after every silent Shemona Esrei, the Amidah, the following paragraph is in the Masorim. We say this before the regular Elokai Netzor Lishoni Meira, which we say after every Shemona Esrei. Now we have an additional passage that we say immediately preceding Elokai Netzor, and it reads as follows: Elokai, my God, Ad Shelo Notzarti Ein Chadai, till I was created, I wasn't worthy. V'achshav sheNotzarti Ki'ilu Lo Notzarti. Now that I have been created, it's as though I was not created. This is a Yom Kippur lament. I have potential. I had something to accomplish. I haven't done it. I have charata. I have regret that I haven't done it. Okay. Now let's look at the next verse. These are not quoted psukim. This is a compiled prayer. But the next sentence, which is also referred to as a pasuk, reads as follows: Afar ani b'chayai, kal v'chomer b'misasi. I am dust during my lifetime. How much more so when I'm dead, in my death? That's a puzzling formulation. If the theme of this paragraph, as reflected in the first sentence, is I haven't done what I'm supposed to do during my lifetime. I wasn't worthy before I was born. I couldn't do anything. And once I was born and I was called upon to do something implicitly, I haven't done it. So you would think that the next verse would be, I will be dust after I die. And I'm also dust now. Even during my lifetime, I'm dust. Even during my lifetime, I am not accomplished. But what logic is there to argue before the Almighty? Kal v'chomer is an argument of reason, of logic. Kal v'chomer, I am dust in my lifetime. Kal v'chomer b'misasi, how much more so in my death? It seems anomalous. Are we arguing before God that because we're not accomplished, he should kill us? Well, the Rav Kook in Olas explains the first part. He explains that every one of us is brought into existence at the time and in the place that we are needed. By whom? By HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by the Almighty. In other words, God has us appear at precisely the right time to accomplish our mission. Now, Rav Schwab talks about our mission. And he quotes, this is in Mayon Beis HaShoeva, where he discusses the verse, and this is in Bereshis, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Chav Zayin. It's about the creation of man. Vayiver Elokim es Adam etzalmo, b'tzelem Elokim baroso. God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. And I've mentioned in the past the comment of my Rabbi, Rav Ahron Soloveichik, who said that generally the translations get this wrong. They suggest, or they translate the first part, Vayiver Elokim es Adam etzalmo, and God created man in his image, that his is a capital H. God created man in God's image. And he says that can't be the accurate translation because the second part of the verse says the exact same thing, just in a different order. But Tzelem Elokim baroso, in the image of God, he created him. So what Rav Ahron says is that God created man in man's own unique image, and in the image of God. This gives every individual a certain uniqueness. Now, Schwab quotes the Gemara in Sanhedrin. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that man was created alone. Adam was created alone. And it's to tell us the glory of God, because the stamp of God is not like the stamp of man, of flesh and blood. The stamp of flesh and blood, every single object that comes from that, every coin, if you will, is identical. But the stamp of God, Adam, every coin, that's us, human beings, that's created is unique. And the Gemara later on says that we are unique in our voice, in the way we think, and in our appearance. And we know this from photo ID cards and unique voice stamps, voice identifiers. And certainly we know that people don't think alike. That's a phenomenon that we've lived with forever. So everybody's different. And Rav Schwab says everybody feels that they're different. And people feel that they're so unique that there may never have ever been somebody like me beforehand, and not afterwards either. And he says that's actually the stamp of the Almighty on our consciousness. And we feel that nobody really understands us. And that's because nobody's like us, and they can't really understand us. So why is this? So Schwab says it's because each of us is uniquely assembled in a varied way to be able to fulfill a unique mission. And that's why the Gemara says, Lefichach, therefore, Chayav, Kol Echad ve'echad Chayav Lomar B'Shvili Nivra Ha'olam. Therefore, every individual is required to say, the world was created for me. Now that's somewhat unusual because you would think that that sounds a little egocentric. But what Rav Schwab says is, if God uniquely enabled me, gave me unique characteristics, unique talents, unique disposition, and the combination of all of those, it's because I have a unique mission. And if I have a unique mission to accomplish in this world for God, then it means he had me in mind. Now you might ask, the Gemara says, every person is required to say the world was created for me. What's the nature of this obligation? Is it like Kriya Shema? Do we have to say it twice a day? Is it once in a lifetime? But we might suggest, according to Rav Schwab, he doesn't ask this question, but he gives enough background to come up with this answer, which is, when God created the world, he had each of us in mind. That means that there is a certain deficiency in the world that can only be corrected by each of us individually. And for that reason, a person has to say, the world was created for me, meaning I am called upon to act in this world when it's appropriate. Is this the right time? And if it is, what am I called upon to do? Now, to have a complete, comprehensive picture, the person has to study Torah, because that's the word of God and that's our guide. But the question here, we can go back and we can say, okay, this relates to the first part that we mentioned in this unique tefillah of, the unique prayer of Yom Kippur, Elokai ad Shelo Notzarti ein echadai. I wasn't brought into this world until I was needed. So before I was needed, I wasn't created. And then our Yom Kippur, appropriate Yom Kippur lament is V'achshav sheNotzarti ki'ilu Notzarti. And now that I've been created, I've been so ineffective in accomplishing my goal that it's as though I haven't been created. Now, you would think if a boss or if a coach had somebody that he brought in to fill a certain role in a game, brought him off the bench, and if that player is not doing well, is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, the coach is going to remove him from the game. The businessman is going to fire the employee who's not doing his job. So that seems like a logical possibility. What's the equivalent of firing? God just has us die because we're not doing, the whole reason to bring us into existence is to fulfill his will. And if we're falling short, then maybe we shouldn't continue. And that, I suggest, is the understanding of the second sentence. We say, Afarni b'chayai kal v'chomer b'misasi. It's I am dust in my life, how much more so in my death. It's not that we're arguing that God should kill us. It's quite the contrary. We're saying, but if you think, God, kaviyachol, if you think that the answer to this problem is to remove me from the world, well, then you're out of luck, because then there is no possibility of my accomplishing anything if I'm not on this world. So this is actually, it is an argument, but it's an argument to stay alive. It's an argument that God should continue to give us life so that we can present a potential and an actualization of the potential to fulfill his will in that unique way that's carved out for us, for which we would say the world was created for me to act on this world. And I'd like to suggest that this may be a secondary meaning in the addition that we say in the first bracha of the Shemona Esrei. We say, Zachreinu l'chaim, melech chafetz b'chaim, v'chasfeinu b'sefer ha'chaim, l'ma'ancha Elohim chaim. We say, remember us for life, the king who desires life, and write us in the book of life. Typically, we put either a comma there or we express it as though there were a comma there, and then we say it's a separate concept. For your sake, O living God. But we might read this instead as Kasfenu b'sefer ha'chaim l'ma'ancha Elohim. Write us in the book. What book? Not just the book of life. The book of life for your sake. In other words, write us in the book, if you will, of those who are living for you, who are living for a greater purpose, who are living with an understanding, with a sense of mission. Each and every one of us has a mission. That mission draws on our unique capabilities and attitudes and composition. And this Yom Kippur is an opportunity to reflect on who we are, what our strengths are, not just our weaknesses, and to resolve to galvanize those strengths so that we can live a life of L'ma'ancha, for your sake, Elokim Chayim, the living God. May everyone have a Gemar Chasima Tova, a good Geben Shior, and peace for all of Israel. Have a good Yom Tov and a good Shabbos.